Reporter Bruce Munro has been pumping out some in-depth features for the Otago Daily Times since he moved from the Star last year. This week he's taking on the at times contentious issue of New Zealand's relationship with Australia. Good evening, Bruce.
Evening.
What aspects of the relationship are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking broadly at our relationship with Australians, economic, cultural, sporting, but I'm using that as a way to examine our emotional relationship with Australia. How we feel about Aussies, why do we feel like that, and what does that say about us?
Now, who have you talked to and what are they telling you about the subject?
I've spoken to business people, historians, political commentator, even a couple of psychologists. And they're telling me that we have a long and sometimes difficult relationship with Australia. That despite having two of the most closely integrated economies in the world, Kiwis, when we get a chance, we like to discriminate against Australians. And I've actually come across some fascinating research that shows just how far we're willing to go to put the boot into our Aussie mates. At the same time as we're discriminating, we have this strange other aspect going on, that we actually look up to Australians and that we are constantly trying to compare ourselves with how we're matching against the so-called lucky country.
Now, there have been some pretty thorny moments in the history between the two countries, not least the underarm incident. Why do you think those issues are so important to so many Kiwis?
Yeah, that's right. Whether it's Farlap or Pavlova or Crowded House, we could go on. And as you say, Trevor Chappell's infamous underarm bowl in 1981. We seem to have some deep resentment towards Australians about the wrongs that we feel have been done to us by them. I think it's all tied up not so much with Australia, but with how we feel about ourselves in relation to Australia.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I would say that Australians actually quite like... Should I start? I would say that Australians actually quite like us, despite the sheep jokes that they make, and that on the whole they're quite oblivious to how we feel about them. But for New Zealanders, when it comes down to it, we have a little brother syndrome towards Australia. And it's not doing us any good. But there is some good news, and this is it, that there's some positive signs that there is a new Kiwi attitude emerging.
Oh.
And you'll need to read the story on Saturday to find out all about it.
Indeed, we look forward to reading it. Bruce Munro from the ODT, thanks very much for your time.
Welcome.